Before America had a capital, it had a heartbeat. In the late 18th century, Philadelphia stood at the center of a new world, where streets carried ideas, buildings carried ambition, and ordinary days quietly shaped a nation's future. This was a city of printers and politicians, merchants and markets, order and unrest. Today, we step back into those streets and see Philadelphia as it once lived and breathed. In this view, we find ourselves on one of Philadelphia's main streets, where daily life unfolds against a backdrop of quiet importance. Brick buildings stand close together, their wooden signs, balconies, and shuttered windows watching over a steady flow of people below. Townsfolk gather near doorways, carts creak forward under heavy loads, and horses move calmly through the center of the road, carrying riders and goods alike. During this era, Philadelphia was not just a city, it was a meeting place of ideas, trade, and debate. Every street echoed with conversation, every crossing with possibility. And as these roads stretch onward, they lead us deeper into a city shaping the future of a new nation. Here, our view settles on one of Philadelphia's most powerful symbols of the young republic. A grand columned building rises from the street, its classical design meant to echo the ideals of order, stability, and reason. Men pass quietly along the road, some pausing near the steps, others moving on with measured purpose. This was the Bank of the United States, a place where the nation's early financial future was debated and shaped. In these years, Philadelphia stood at the center of American commerce, where architecture spoke as loudly as politics. And as this calm facade watches over the street, it hints at the growing forces, economic and political, that were already reshaping the city beyond these walls. Before us stands Pennsylvania Hall, a building that once carried more than stone and columns. It carried voices. Its pale facade rises above the street, calm and orderly, while townspeople pass beneath it on foot and by carriage. This hall was built as a place for public meetings, lectures, and debate, at a time when Philadelphia was alive with arguments about freedom, equality, and the future of the nation. In these streets, ideas moved as quickly as people did, sometimes welcomed, sometimes resisted. And though the building appears quiet here, its presence reminds us that the city's history was shaped as much by words spoken inside these walls as by the events unfolding beyond them. Here, the city gives way to learning. Set behind iron fencing and shaded by tall trees, this complex represents one of America's earliest centers of education. The long brick buildings stand with quiet confidence, their symmetry reflecting the Enlightenment ideals that shaped Philadelphia at the time. Students and scholars moved through these grounds believing knowledge itself could build a nation. This was a city that invested not only in trade and politics, but in reason, science, and progress. And as these institutions grew, they fed the ideas that would soon travel far beyond these walls, carrying Philadelphia's influence into every corner of the young republic. Before industry reshaped the skyline, Philadelphia experimented with ideas. This domed structure reflects a moment when science, observation, and public learning were treated as civic duties. Set apart from the noise of the streets, it was designed for curiosity rather than commerce. Inside, scholars debated astronomy, natural philosophy, and the mechanics of a modern republic. The city believed progress could be measured, studied, and improved. And as these ideas quietly took shape within its walls, they helped prepare a generation to think beyond colonies and toward a nation still defining itself. From above, Philadelphia reveals its ambition. Broad streets stretch outward from civic landmarks, framed by orderly blocks and open green spaces. This was a city designed not to impress kings, but to organize citizens. Public buildings stood at the center, while homes, workshops, and markets radiated around them with deliberate balance. The layout reflects Enlightenment thinking, reason over chaos, planning over chance. As the city expanded, it carried with it a belief that a republic could be built carefully, one measured decision at a time, setting the stage for what would soon follow. Along the water's edge, Philadelphia reveals another side of itself. Low warehouses line the docks, their doors opening directly onto the river as boats drift slowly past. Smoke rises from factories behind them, softening the skyline and hinting at constant work beyond the frame. This was where trade met industry, raw materials arriving, finished goods departing, and labor shaping the city's future. The calm surface of the water hides a restless engine beneath it, pushing Philadelphia outward, forward, and steadily into a new age. Here, the city turns quieter and more deliberate. A large brick residence stands apart from the street, orderly and restrained, yet unmistakably important. Horse-drawn carts pass slowly, and figures gather near the grounds, aware of the authority housed within these walls. This was Philadelphia at the center of the young republic, serving briefly as the nation's capital. Decisions shaping an emerging country were made in spaces like this, measured, cautious, and still uncertain, before the seat of power moved on, leaving the city with its legacy. The city grows louder here. At this busy corner, people gather beneath arcades and along the street, trading goods, news, and ideas. Brick buildings rise close together, their windows watching the movement below as carts roll past and conversations overlap. This was the commercial heart of Philadelphia, where daily life unfolded alongside the ambitions of a growing nation. Markets like this fed the city's economy and its culture, shaping a rhythm that carried Philadelphia forward toward larger streets, broader influence, and a future already beginning to take shape. Here, the street feels more refined, almost theatrical. Elegant brick buildings line the road, their columns and arcades guiding people along the pavement. Well-dressed men and women stroll at an unhurried pace, while carriages roll past with quiet confidence. This part of Philadelphia reflected its cultural ambitions, a city that valued learning, performance, and public life. Spaces like this brought citizens together, not just to trade, but to observe, discuss, and belong. And as the street continues beyond the frame, the city's character becomes clearer, orderly, purposeful, and steadily shaping its identity. In this view, the city is no longer a single street or building. It spreads outward, shaped by rivers, roads, and boundaries drawn with intention. Philadelphia's neighborhoods emerge as distinct worlds, connected by winding paths and anchored by the Delaware and Schuylkill rivers. Beyond the dense heart of the city, farmland, small settlements, and open land stretch into the distance, revealing how closely urban life depended on its surroundings. This was a city still defining itself, balanced between order and expansion, permanence and possibility. And as these lines extend outward, they quietly lead us toward the next chapter of its growth. In this view, the city presents itself through order and ambition. A grand circular building rises above the street, its columns and dome reflecting a young nation's faith in reason, law, and permanence. Around it, carriages pass slowly, pedestrians gather, and daily life unfolds beneath architecture meant to last centuries. Philadelphia in this era was not just a place of commerce, but of ideas, where public institutions shaped civic identity. And as movement continues through these streets, the city quietly guides us onward, towards spaces where public life becomes even more crowded and alive. As the day fades over 18th century Philadelphia, the streets grow quieter, but the city's story does not end here. These roads, these halls, and these everyday moments carried ideas that would travel far beyond this place. What began as a working city became a turning point in history. And while the buildings remain, the lives that shape them now belong to time. If you want to keep walking through the past, city by city, moment by moment, stay with us and let history continue to unfold.